In the peaceful town of Cloverdale, Dr. Stephen Finch was Mr. Christmas.
This is a busy time of year, so we have to have a game plan. All must-sing caroling requests to be submitted in writing.
Until the competition moved in.
Who moves in the middle of the night?
I'm Buddy Hall. We just moved in across the street.
These are my babies. Can I live here?
Daddy, come look. You can see every house in the country from space.
Where's our house?
You can't see our house.
Just hoping that one day I'd do something big. Danny DeVito.
I really want my house to be seen from space.
Matthew Broderick.
I like the way you've duct taped the antlers to their heads.
Apparently, reindeer are not indigenous to the region. Whoa! I didn't see that coming.
In the brightest Christmas story ever.
Santa! He's real! I knew it!
That could have ended badly.
Deck the halls.
Welcome to Christmas time on the Blockbusters show, and today we're going to be talking about what many call one of the worst Christmas comedies of all time. Steve, played by Matthew Broderick, is a suburban dad and Christmas enthusiast who finds a wrinkle in his well-ordered existence with the arrival of his new neighbor, Danny, played by Danny DeVito. Danny has big dreams and plans to illuminate his house with enough holiday lights to make it visible from space. Not to be outdone, Steve declares a war on one-upsmanship with Danny that threatens to drag the Christmas spirit through the slush. That's actually the Google description. They actually get Danny DeVito's character's name wrong. His name is in the movie is Buddy, but he's listed as Danny. That's how little of a shit they gave when they were putting the Google description together. Not that the IMDb description's much better, it's just two neighbors have it out after one of them decorates his house for the holidays so brightly that it can be seen from space. So to put things in perspective, this came out at a time when a lot of comedies were trying to copy that awkward, borderline sitcom-ish style of humor that Meet the Parents made so popular. And I know those movies are incredibly divisive, and I really do not like the third one, Little Fockers. But I do like the first Meet the Parents movie, and I don't hate Meet the Fockers. But then after that, we got a bunch of those kind of movies that were just trying to do the whole, oh man, so awkward, oh, misunderstanding type of comedy, and when they were bad, they were really bad. And in the 2000s, we typically had movies that starred Ben Stiller. They tried to get him back after the success of the Fokker movies. They tried to get him involved again. Jason Biggs was typically a part of these kind of movies. Sometimes you got the odd one starring people like Dane Cook or maybe Jason Bateman. Aside from Meet the Parents, another movie it was reminding me of was Bride Wars, which is already not a good sign because Bride Wars is terrible. In that movie, it was a rivalry comedy where you have two women who are acting insanely catty and they're trying to one-up each other every single time because one of them wants to have their wedding at a specific place at a specific date, and of course it just so happens to be the same one they have their eyes on, so they just become cartoon characters and are constantly trying to screw each other over. It's pretty much the same thing in this movie, except here you have two feuding neighbors who are trying to outdo each other for who is Mr. Christmas in this small town in Massachusetts. The movie starts with Matthew Broderick, who is the local eye doctor in this town, and everyone seems to love him because he's Mr. Christmas. He's the guy that goes all out for the Christmas season. So much so, he's the kind of person who blows past expectation. You think that, you know, someone who loves Christmas so much, they'd probably have their Christmas decorations up by, I don't know, the end of Thanksgiving, at the latest maybe day after Thanksgiving. No, here he maps out what kind of Christmas decorations and ornaments they put out on specific days, giving himself only 2 days to prep and write down his schedule on December 1st and 2nd.
December 3rd, we hang the wreath.
Instead of putting up the tree and all the decorations in one foul swoop, they have to do it one step at a time going by his schedule. He's that much of a control freak. Also get his family. His wife is played by Kim Davis from Sex and the City. I would like to assume that Broderick probably went to his real-life wife, Sarah Jessica Parker, and said, hey, can you pull some strings? This movie that I'm going to be in needs a leading lady. And so, lo and behold, they were able to get her. And her whole thing is, aside from being the token wife character of the movie, she has this whole thing where she takes recipes from other people's cookbooks and then redoes them just slightly and makes these weirdo recipes.
It's the raw quail eggs, isn't it? It's the texture, right? The grainy, slimy, milky. Can you taste the curry?
Yeah,
but she specifically states that she doesn't make cookbooks herself.
You always say that I write cookbooks, but I don't. I just edit other people's recipes and then I compile them into cookbooks that nobody buys.
You take recipes from other people's cookbooks, jot them down, and then try to make them into your own. So in other words, you write cookbooks. They have a daughter who's just incredibly generic. Her whole thing is that she doesn't really care about her family. She's always going on, this family sucks, I don't like anything. And I guess they kind of have a thing with her where once their neighbors move in and once his family starts spending time with the neighbors, she kind of blossoms and steps outside of her comfort zone and starts being a bit more of a free spirit. But they don't really do anything with that. They don't really do a whole lot with anything in this movie. The only other thing of note about the daughter is that she's played by the same actress who plays Maybe in Arrested Development. That's about it. And then you get to their 10-year-old son, who I've complained about this in plenty of other reviews, but this is just a trope I cannot stand, which is they have a young kid, in this case a 10-year-old, who talks like a 40-year-old, and he's complaining about how his life has peaked and how he feels like he can't accomplish anything, like he's having a midlife crisis.
I'm 10. What have I really accomplished? Half season of soccer, cleared legendary mode of Halo, a lackluster stint in the Cub Scouts.
Every time that they did a joke like that, it just weirded me out. I don't know, I don't find it that funny. If anything, you just want to be like, okay, if a kid is talking about how his life will never get any better at age 10, you probably want to take that kid to a counselor. That's a little concerning. Anyway, everything seems perfect for Broderick and his little Stepfordized family, but then across the street moves the Hall family, and we have the husband and father, Buddy, and he's played by Danny DeVito, and of course he's playing a pretty toned down version of Danny DeVito, but he's basically playing Danny DeVito like he always does. And you know what? While this is not a very good movie, Danny DeVito is at least trying. The movie itself is not very good, and a lot of the material he was given was terrible, but even in bad shit, Danny DeVito is pretty entertaining to watch just because he's Danny DeVito. He's a man, a myth, a legend, and a memes. His wife is played by Kristen Chenoweth, and she's basically playing the same character she plays in a lot of things. I mean, the same year that this came out, she was also in RV, where she was a little bit more of a Southern Belle version of the character that she is in this movie. But she's just basically the, young, bubbly, fun kind of wife who always wears tight, revealing outfits. They have two blonde twins as daughters, and I feel like the entire time the joke was supposed to be, oh yeah, right, two hot young girls like that, they came from Danny DeVito, yeah, right. But this segues us into all the weird PG-13 sex jokes that they love throwing out in this movie. Like, the first thing, when they move in, because they move in during the night, and so the next morning, Buddy and his wife walk up to Broderick's house, and he's getting his paper, and he almost spills his coffee, and they're just kind of chatting amongst themselves, and Broderick has a t-shirt and a bathrobe, and Kristen Chenoweth just makes a joke about how she can see his dick.
Looks like we got a visitor.
Whoa!
Don't put the little guy away on my account.
And then a bunch of jokes like that happen afterwards, like,
Sure. Seriously, sweetie, I'm about to break my neck here. Just yank it up there. Yeah, a little bit harder. Oh, yeah, more up. Oh.
15? My girls are 15. Well, they are dressed. Trust me, this is more clothes than they've worn in months.
Can I live here?
I swear, I was so surprised when I didn't see Chuck Lorre's name show up in the credits, because that was some 2.5 Men shit that was going on there. All it's like they want to do raunchy sex jokes, but the movie is so weak and it's not rated R, so they can't really go too extreme with it. And by the way, I mean, I know there's a bunch of Christmas comedies out there. Like Bad Santa's a good example of how to do a cynical Christmas comedy. All the sex jokes that are in this movie, they're just so half-assed, and they so don't care about writing jokes in this thing. So every time they had jokes like this, it was just so uncomfortable and just not funny. So Buddy gets a job at a car dealership, and he's such a good car salesman that he sells one of their cars to the head of the company for sticker price within the first few seconds of him getting the job.
That's not possible.
Mr. Murray owns the dealership.
I just bought one of my own cars. And the worst part is, I paid sticker.
Like I said, this is just an example of all the jokes in the movie feeling so telegraphed, and you could predict the punchline from a mile away. It feels like all the humor in this was something that they just did not care about in the slightest, which is not a good sign when you're doing a comedy movie. The point of Buddy's character is that he wants to do something impressive. He doesn't just want to be another car salesman. He wants to do something unique and special and something that everyone will revere him for. So once his daughters point out that there's this thing that's able to see houses from space and their house is just completely invisible because there's no Christmas lights on it, he decides he's going to try and make his house visible from space. So he gets all the Christmas lights he can in the middle of the night, and this upsets Broderick's character, Steven. And so he goes out to have a talk with him, and even though he's a character played by Danny DeVito, and he's supposed to be an expert car salesman, they establish that he doesn't know simple things like sarcasm and metaphor.
Do you have any idea what time it is?
What's the matter? All the clocks in your house busted?
No, I know what time it is.
Oh, what, you just need an excuse to come over here in your underwear?
No, I was being sarcastic.
Oh. Well, you gotta know that stuff like that just goes right over my head.
Maybe we should just start completely over.
Buddy Hall, and you are?
No, I didn't mean we should literally. I was speaking metaphorically.
As for some other thoughts that popped up during the sequence, first of all, I just have to say, the main duo in this movie, they do not have good chemistry. I mean, I was giving Danny DeVito credit because, yeah, I do like Danny DeVito, and I think he's very good even in really bad movies. But, like, whose idea was it to have Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito as comedy rivals in a movie? It's just such a weird pairing, and it feels like it doesn't work at all. You know, Matthew Broderick has his own different style of comedy that's really outside of the league of Danny DeVito, and vice versa. So it feels like they don't really mesh well together in this film. I'm not really sure what kind of duo you could pair up against one another to have this actually work, but I guarantee you, even if you got people who did have chemistry, the material probably wouldn't have helped. And the other thing that stuck out about this sequence, as well as the rest of the movie, because this becomes the main plot, it's the fact that he puts up a bunch of Christmas lights on his house, and every time they check this little website to see if their house is viewable from space, it isn't. Even though there are other houses on the block that have less lights than they do.
Where's our house?
Oh, you can't see our house, but you can see the neighbors.
The figures were invisible.
They're viewable from space, so even with as little lights as this house has super early on in the movie, how come their house isn't viewable? Aside from the obvious fact that, oh yeah, we need a plot to get going, so Danny DeVito needs to get more and more lights and more stuff that's going to annoy Broderick, and then this is what starts the comedic rivalry. Because that's what ends up happening. Danny DeVito then goes to the hardware store the next day and buys every single light in the shop, and this is where Broderick starts to get envious because now everyone's saying, oh, Buddy is the new Christmas king around town. Oh, look at how all out he's going with decorating his house with these lights, and even more stuff later on. But Broderick starts getting a little jealous, and one of the first comedic set pieces we have is he gets a giant sleigh to put in the front yard, and he got a couple of horses from the outskirts of town that aren't trained horses, because he even makes a comment about how they're skittish.
Keep our voices down a little bit because I found these horses on the outskirts of town, and between you and me, they look a little skittish.
When he also duct taped Christmas antlers to their heads. Haha.
I especially like the way you've duct taped the antlers to their heads.
Yeah, well, apparently reindeer are not indigenous to the region.
But Broderick's family, they're in the middle of trying to take a family photo, and the family's like, oh, hey, why don't we take a photo with the sleigh? That'd be cool. And Broderick is immediately against the idea, and he's especially against the idea when he hears about the skittish horses. So as he's trying to take his son out of the sleigh because his son's about to climb on, he ends up falling into the sleigh, the horses take off, and this results in him getting whipped all around town with some really terrible green screen effects. After a bunch of property damage and Broderick getting whipped around a lot, it ends up coming to a stop at an ice path, which of course ice breaks out from under him and he ends up going into the freezing water. And then it crossfades to him waking up in the back of his wife's minivan, and he's being warmed up inside of a sleeping bag, naked, next to Danny DeVito, who's in the sleeping bag with him, also naked.
How to get your body temperature up, so I stripped us both down and zipped us into this sleeping bag.
It was at this point I was thinking, yeah, I've already seen something like this in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's Christmas special, and it was funnier there, so sorry, movie, but not funny and not impressive either.
What in the hell? Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh no, oh no! What is happening?
There's a scene where they're trying to pick out a Christmas tree, and, you know, Danny DeVito wants to try and take a tree out at the same time. And what ends up happening is Danny DeVito's chainsaw knocks over a can of gasoline, which is apparently filled to the brim because all this gasoline then leaks over into the part of the Christmas tree lot that Broderick apparently owns. Like, he has an entire lot of their own trees sectioned off from everybody else. So all this gasoline just leaks on over, and despite the fact that it's gasoline, which has a very unique smell, and the fact that it's bright pink, nobody catches it. Except for Kim Davis. She makes a comment about how, oh, does anybody smell anything? And then Broderick makes a lame-ass fart joke.
Does anyone smell gas?
Well, it's probably me, but cut me some slack. I'm swinging pretty hard.
Broderick takes a swing, and all the trees go up in flames. And this is not the last time that you see Christmas trees in flames. This movie really loves that. And honestly, while I'm totally okay with the idea of cynical, dark Christmas comedies, like I said earlier, Bad Santa, that's a great example of one. There's just something about seeing Christmas trees on fire that's not funny. It's just more sad and depressing. Oh, and then, haha, they get a little mini tree, just like the one in Charlie Brown's Christmas. Ha 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 ha.
Here we go. Keep it up. That's a girl.
So fast forward a little bit, Matthew Broderick decides he wants to try and sabotage Danny DeVito's house, because not only does he have a bunch of Christmas lights, not only does he have a sleigh in his front yard, or at least I guess had one, I don't know if they got it back, and he also has like a live nativity story set piece in his front yard with live camels and livestock and everything. So Broderick goes over to try and take out his power. He gets a snowball and throws it at their fuse box. All the while his son is lookout because his son desperately wants to do something with his dad this holiday season.
Maybe you could take me Christmas shopping for Mom. We could go to the mall and wander around. Oh, and we can get hot chocolate.
You know what? Already taken care of. You're getting her a really nice sweater that I ordered from a catalog.
Oh. I guess that means we don't have to go to the mall together.
Isn't that great?
But then, oh, so wacky, he has to hide from Danny DeVito because Danny DeVito comes to see what's going on in his front yard. So he jumps into the nativity scene, lands in shit, and then a camel spits on his face.
Oh, good Lord. That's disgusting. No, get away from me.
So going by the scene, apparently camel's spit is like mustard, I guess. And it's a good thing this is a PG-13, because if it was a rated R movie, they probably would have been even more gross out with him jumping into shit. They probably would have made it like face first and it gets into his mouth and his teeth. And so that's, if there's one silver lining here, at least they didn't go even more gross out and needlessly disgusting with the shit humor. He gets caught by his wife, and this is another thing they establish. Broderick starts speculating that DeVito is siphoning power from their house, and then later on it turns out that it's true.
I knew it. You've been stealing my power.
Borrowing. Look, it's an extension cord. It goes both ways. I was going to shoot it right back to you after the holidays.
He gives them a new Christmas tree, and he also gets them a new car, and then it turns out that the Christmas tree he gave them came from the town square, and we know this because it has a signature angel decoration on top that looks like Marilyn Monroe. And the car that Danny DeVito gave Broderick, because, oh, there was another set piece earlier I forgot to mention where Broderick tries getting out of his driveway with a bunch of people there, and it's a tight squeeze, and then the car ends up losing both of its doors.
You ready? 1, 2,
It's not funny at all. But Danny DeVito gives him this new car as a gift, and then it turns out that the car was paid for without Broderick's permission, and the contract that came with the car had his signature forged by Danny DeVito.
Well, your gift is parked outside.
Steve, you cannot walk away from your obligations. You signed the contract.
I didn't sign anything.
No, that's true. You didn't sign anything. I had to forge your signature. Otherwise, they wouldn't let me drive the car out of here.
Broderick has been a real asshole up until this point. You know, he's being needlessly jealous of his neighbor getting more attention than him, and he's done a bunch of dumb things that have resulted in terrible comic slapstick and pratfalls and other crap. But what Danny DeVito is doing is illegal, like forgery, theft, and stealing power from their house. But the movie never acts like, oh yeah, no, he's in the wrong. The movie still treats it like, oh no, he's still a better guy than Broderick is. No, movie, they're both in the wrong. They're both being petty man-children here. So then what happens is Broderick challenges him to a skating race because they have this big Christmas festival coming up in the town, and there's a skating competition, and so they decide that they'll settle things that way, that if DeVito wins, he gets to keep the lights, and Broderick has to pay for the car, but if Broderick wins, then DeVito pays for the car and he takes down the lights. On the day of the festival, and there's a bunch of them trying to outdo each other. There's like a snowball competition where you have to knock down a certain number of nutcrackers, and Broderick, as soon as they establish that if there's a snowball involved, you know someone's going to get hit in the face and fall down. And that's what happens. Broderick throws a snowball and it ends up clocking an old lady in the face. I swear to God, this movie loves pratfalls. This movie seems to think that just someone simply falling down is comedy gold. Wives get so sick of their shit, they try telling them to find some common ground, and while they're all watching some kind of like orchestra thing in the town square for the festival, then they have the Santa babies come out, which is kind of like that scene in Mean Girls where they have, you know, the girls come out in scantily clad Santa Claus outfits. And there's 3 of them, and they're not showing their faces.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Woo! Hey, baby, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Oh, God, I'm your daddy.
Could have seen that comedic brilliance coming from a mile away. Although I give them credit, it at least ends with them trying to wash their eyes out with holy water.
My eyes.
We're going to hell.
And then comes the skating competition between DeVito, Broderick, the town's mayor, and 2 stereotypical Germans. And I don't remember the actress's name, but I've seen her in a bunch of stuff. And the German guy is played by Fred Armisen, because of course, needless to say, he was a better European stereotype character in Euro Trip. Skating competition happens, more pratfalls. It seems like Broderick does get in the lead at one point, but he falls over and DeVito wins. So even though DeVito wins and Broderick has to pay for the car, he then tries to put DeVito down by saying that, oh, you'll always be invisible, your house still isn't viewable from space, and the town sees Broderick for the asshole that he is, and they turn on him again.
Fine, but the last time I looked at the satellite pictures, you still couldn't see your house. Not a flicker. Not a blip. How's that feel, huh? Huh? How's it feel to be invisible? Huh?
Feels like the movie wants to be a cynical, dark comedy that really pushes the envelope of dark, cynical Christmas movies, but it feels too lighthearted for it to be a really cynical kind of comedy. Like, if it was more in the vein of something like Horrible Bosses or something like that, where it's like, yes, look at these really petty, pathetic people, and it's like Seinfeldian in a way, then the movie would have felt more in tune with something that you'd expect Danny DeVito to be in. But as it stands, it's just such a bland, fluffy, relatively inoffensive, dumb Christmas movie. Broderick doesn't even think of going to the cops. He goes to them once, and the reason he doesn't go back to the cops any other time in the movie is because the police chief wears a bra and panties.
If you want to file a complaint, I'll fill out the paperwork.
I do, thank you. I appreciate it. I want to file a complaint.
Now, where is that form? Yes. Ah, here we are.
That's just the last time he thinks about going to the cops. That's it. We never see the cops ever again, except for like one time later on in the movie. But other than that, he doesn't think about going back to the cops. Even though Buddy, DeVito's character, is being a public nuisance because he puts a stereo system in that's going to be playing nothing but Christmas music all night long till 4 in the morning, just as a way to give a middle finger to Broderick. And it's like, so no one else in that neighborhood is bothered by that? Everyone is just totally fine with it, and Broderick is the one stick in the mud that has a problem with that. What?
I can't take it anymore.
To try and get even more lights and even more expensive stuff for the house so that it can be seen from space, he ends up pawning a family vase that meant a lot to Kristen Chenoweth. So once she ends up figuring out about that, she's really pissed at him. Oh, and he also mentions that he lost his job.
Pawned my grandmother's vase.
Well, how am I supposed to afford a camel on a car salesman's salary? And then I went for a loan, and if you don't have a job...
You lost your job?
Oh. That was a pretty awkward way for you to find that out.
That's just like brushed over. Like there was one kind of mention of it before that point, but then when it just comes out that, oh yeah, he lost his job. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. No proper build up to that. Like one quick mention of it before, but now, oh, he's just jobless now. So yeah, his wife and daughters leave him. Broderick gets so sick of this shit, he then goes to someone, and at first I thought he was going to try and buy a firearm illegally from some guy out of the back of his trunk, but no, he's actually buying fireworks, like military grade fireworks, and he's going to launch them at Danny DeVito's house. And results in, of course, he's able to pop a couple of them at the house, but the most powerful one ends up slipping down his chimney, and it takes out the Christmas tree in their house.
You sure you've been watering that thing? It went up awfully fast.
After it's revealed that Broderick got fireworks to try and essentially destroy DeVito's house, Kim Davis takes their 2 kids and leaves, and then so they're both sad and alone for the holidays. Broderick is watching Meet Me in St. Louis, starring Judy Garland, and he finally realizes that the holidays isn't about the material things. It's about coming together and maybe putting some petty differences aside. So him and DeVito work things out, and well, I like when it cuts back to the families. They try to give Danny DeVito's twin daughters a sense of depth, because they're reading books for the first time, something they've never done before.
Are you reading? Emily Dickinson. Madison gave it to us. It's really good. Yeah, and it's not giving me a headache or anything.
Maybe I should go to law school or something.
That is the closest thing to character arcs that those characters get. Like, at all, in this entire movie. Thank you for that. So, they go outside and notice that outside the motel, they took the lights off of the house and made it into a path leading them back to the house. And there they have made a Christmas dinner using the recipes from Kim Davis's personal cookbook, and DeVito was even able to get the vase back. So it seems like the families are finally happy together, but it came at the cost of the lights. But then, as a special twist, Broderick calls in help from everybody in town, and they all bring their hand-me-down Christmas lights and put it on the house, and it becomes a huge media storm, because then you have Suchin Pak from MTV News. She shows up as herself.
Happy holidays, everyone. Susan Pak coming to you live from Cloverdale, Massachusetts.
You also get a cameo from Cal Penn, Kumar, who has a British accent for some reason.
That's no trouble at all. Actually, it's funny. Basil's mum stopped by with a tin of biscuits, so we're just having a laugh.
I mean, if anything, I guess this appearance was still more dignified than being in Son of the Mask. Despite putting all these lights on the house, it's still not visible, and the power ends up blowing. So now everyone's in the dark, everyone pulls out their flip phones from 2006, and they start singing Oh Holy Night. And I will give them this, even though it's only for like 2 lines, they actually did get Kristen Chenoweth to sing.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining.
Because after all, the woman is from Broadway and has won God knows how many awards, like Tonys and whatnot. So of course you're going to get her to sing in your movie. It was weird it was only for 2 lines, but they got her to sing at least. But then it turns out, oh, the plug just wasn't plugged in all the way, so then the lights come on. Danny DeVito has succeeded at what he's always wanted, to do something big and important and special, and Matthew Broderick and DeVito finally make amends, showing the Christmas spirit. So overall, this was not a very good movie. The tones are confused, the actors don't really seem to have very good chemistry. It doesn't feel like a movie that was toned down from a rated R movie, but it definitely feels like when they first conceived it, it was meant to be a more cynical movie, which is why Danny DeVito was probably interested in it. But then it just got whittled down, till it eventually just became this just bland, mediocre as fuck movie that's just not that funny, and all the jokes are super obvious. You can see them coming from a mile away. It's all just super lowbrow stuff, like people falling over. There are some great Christmas comedies out there, and you can clearly tell that one movie that they were inspired by was Christmas Vacation. But Christmas Vacation, while there were some kind of cynical moments in it, it still had a heart at the end of the day. Like a lot of the good vacation movies out there, you could tell that Clark Griswold, deep down, he just wanted to give his family a good vacation. Nobody in this is likable, and if the movie embraced that kind of cynical side of Christmas, and oh, it's all about keeping up appearances and it's not really about the holiday spirit with some of these people, then the movie probably would have meant a little bit more, but it's just so bland and forgettable. It really did feel like a straight-to-TV movie, and the only reason it was in theaters for a short time was because they had such big-named actors. That's it. This was just not a good period for Christmas comedies in general, man. I mean, the 2000s was littered with stuff like this, and Christmas with the Cranks, and Fred Claus, Four Christmases, Surviving Christmas, which I was so tempted to do a video for that, but MediaWiz and Nostalgia Kid already did a video on it, so if you want to see that, link in the description. You want to see some real terrible, cynical Christmas holiday torture. That's even worse than this one, but this one's not far off. This was bad. But like always, this is probably going to be one of the better movies we're looking at, and that's saying something, because next time we're going to be looking at The Mean One, that Grinch horror movie parody from last year. I am not excited for that. But until then, guys, I'm Adam Sykes of The Blockbuster Show, and we will see you guys in the next video. Merry fucking Christmas.
Oh, very nice. Very nice suit. Looks like you're smuggling a couple of chicken nuggets up there.